Hello, John. John.
Hey, John. Monsieur Beaulieu, ¿cómo ça va? ¿Dónde está?
Aha!
Yes, yay.
Test, test, test. You hear me
Hola!
okay,
We hear you wonderfully.
but I don't hear you.
Oh no.
Let me just check.
Make sure that you're
Just a second.
you
It's
want
a
Test.
monk all the way from Bhutan calling, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that.
Good morning, John.
good morning.
Hi, my dear. Pleased to meet you. I know that we've not met before, so I'm Corey. Hi.
Hi.
I know you know Isabel.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll come out more. If it's okay with you, John, I would just like to do a short introduction and read your bio, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And I want to double check with you. How do you pronounce your last name?
Boyu.
Boyu. See,
Yeah.
See, I was right for a change.
Boyu. Okay, so for everybody that's listening, this is Dr. John Boyu. He is a world leader and pioneer in the field of sound healing. Got lots of questions for you, John. I'm excited. With over 50 years of clinical research, teachings, and practice, he is the founder of Biosonics and author of Human Tuning and numerous publications that have shaped the field of integrative sound therapy. Dr. John
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, yeah.
breaking discovery of biosonics repatterning emerged from the now this is the word that I need you to pronounce for me as well. From the 500 hours in is it anechoic? What is it?
Anechoic.
Anechoic chamber. I'd love you to explain that to me as well, please. And in an anechoic chamber at New York University, where he collaborated the sounds of his nervous system. Got questions about that too.
My goodness, right, John? You said well, somewhere I caught up that people cannot really be without sound, right?
But well,
Like,
yeah,
Hold back.
there's always sound. That's even tinnitus. I like to say there's medical tinnitus and there's spiritual tinnitus.
oh, okay.
Okay.
And how is that?
Wait a minute, Isabel. Wait a minute. I haven't finished. When he introduced tuning forks into this deep listening process, he realized that the body could be tuned like a musical instrument. This insight has guided decades of research at the intersection of music, psychology, medicine, and consciousness studies. As a psychologist, neuropathic, physician, composer, and educator, an all-round awesomeness man, by the sounds of it, Dr. John Biaulieu is renowned for his ability to bridge ancient wisdom and modern science. His work with tuning forks offers profound yet practical tools for healing and resilience. His teachings is recognized worldwide for its clarity, depth, and the way it translates complex scientific ideas into embodied intuitive practices. All right, Isabel, go, my love.
The thing is, we're gonna put all this and in the links so they can connect with him and also his classes and purchase these amazing tuning forks because it's incredible what he does. If we let you talk, John, maybe you can explain. Goes off the air.
Well, as I mentioned to you, John, in our email when we were communicating, we're kind of on a theme at the moment of self-love, and you explained to me how you see that differently in your work. Maybe we could start there and you can just explain that for us.
Well, it's kind of funny when I saw self-love, because of my background, I'm thinking narcissistic personality disorder.
Aha.
Because you could certainly, that's Narcissus. She looked at her reflection in the water and she fell in love with herself. And one could use that as a way of avoiding distress, but it really won't work. So the word self-love to me is really requires a lot more work than just saying I love myself.
Right, because the I love myself from your perspective isn't necessarily changing the vibration of what's inside.
Not at all.
Okay.
It's because you could say I love this, but I don't love that. I don't love what's going on in my life right now. And that's another way of, there's inside and outside. So if you say, I don't love what's going on in my life right now, that you're really saying, I don't love myself. I love myself, but I don't love what's going on in my life right now. You can't say that.
No.
That immediately divides the self from the outside. You've now taken a universe, which means unified, and you divided it into two different possibilities. I don't like that. In order not to deal with it, I keep loving myself more. And that just leads to greater distress and greater distress.
So basically, how I'm hearing it is, if I have like an energy within me, and you call it, is it renaissance, or what's the wording that you
Resonance.
resonance, right? I always talk about it when I talk with my students or people is I talk about it from a vibration, like a frequency
Yes.
perspective. So if I have a frequency inside of me that's trying to say I love myself, yet I am everything around me, and if I am unhappy with everything around me, then those two things can't possibly be separate, can they?
They can't. You need to say, I like to say that we know this in science, for example, that a stressor is a frequency, and that you're not coming into resonance with. Therefore, you don't love it. Therefore, that's yourself. Yourself is saying, I want you to change, and you're saying, I don't want to change.
Right.
And the moment you come into resonance with the stressor, then you will automatically experience self-love, not as a thought, but as an actual feeling tone and a holistic resonance through your body.
Right. Do you have any thoughts, Isabel? Because I have another question, but
Go ahead.
yeah, I don't want to jump over to my next question.
No, this is amazing to me because I know his work. I mean, I've been 4 decades with him. So
Okay, wonderful.
yeah.
I'm all excited and new to this, so kick me if you need to step in. What I wanted to ask you, John, was, so from reading your bio, and it said you spent 500 hours in the
Anechoic chamber.
anechoic chamber. Can you explain that exactly?
Yes. An anechoic chamber is a scientific chamber, and it means anechoic. The literal definition is without echoes, echoic. It means, but really what it is, it's a room, or a big room or a small room. There's different sizes. I had a small one, and it's a room of complete darkness and, scientifically speaking, close to total silence.
Right.
So when you go into this room, you go into darkness and silence. It's an isolation chamber. It's not like the floating ones. You can hear things, they play music in them. This is totally,
Yeah.
you close that door and there's no external sounds and there's no light. So when you sit in there and you close your eyes, you begin to hear the sounds in your body,
Okay.
right? And your body, and generally speaking, makes a high-pitched sound, that's your nervous system in operation, and low-pitched sounds, which are your blood in circulation.
Right.
So I sat in there. I knew this through a composer named John Cage, who had done it at MIT. And by chance, it turned out in my laboratory at New York University, there was an anechoic chamber on wheels in the corner. It was all covered up. It had probably been put there in the 1950s for experiments with LSD or something like that. But it had been completely covered up. No one even wanted to know it was there, and I found it. And so I asked if I could use it. They said, absolutely. So I had access to my own anechoic chamber, and I would sit there and close my eyes in total silence and darkness and listen to the sounds of my body. But And I called that phenomenological research. That's the scientific name for it.
How did you know that your body had sounds?
I listened.
You just listened. We were talking about this earlier because both me and Isabel, I did a darkness retreat a couple of years ago. And while I was in there I did it was a darkness for 100 hours, and it was in a cave. And I wonder if that could have created that same
Yes.
situation, because what I was listening to, what I thought I was listening to, was the sound of all that is, like the nothingness and everything, and that space of in-betweenness. I thought that that's what I was hearing. I didn't realize I was hearing my body.
Yes. Well, your body makes sounds, and in fact, the composer who did it originally did it to say there's no such thing as silence, in a way. You're always making sound. How you perceive those sounds, as you say, the all or something like that, how your relationship to those sounds is your relationship to them.
Right.
So where you go with them, what you learn from them. But basically, if you're, in a way, you're meditating on sounds within yourself in that darkness, and they're revealing possibilities for you that are unique to you. And because you were prepared, I assume you were prepared to go in there for that length of time and to be there, you went in with the right, we say set and setting in psychedelic medicine, you went in with the right attitude. You were open to perceiving things that would really be beneficial to you.
Yeah.
So your way of describing them is your unique way of understanding. But I kept what happened to me in the chamber pretty much secret for 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't want people to get confused with my experience and what I considered to be the principle of being in there and what it did, which is really sound of your nervous system, when it's coherent, when it's resonating through your body, and when it's not.
Okay.
Right? So
with that information that you gathered in that time, so it sounds like you had a personal experiences as well as this discovery and this connection to the sound.
Well, the one personal experience I do tell is that I learned about, for example, tuning forks and the sound more, that I'd been in there long enough that I had a baseline, right? So I had an argument with a person in a subway booth, a person who sold tokens in those days, had an argument. And I was, it's New York City, and I was, arguing as this par for the course. But I'm from Indiana, so I'm not used to arguing with subway. I wasn't used to it, but I didn't really think a whole lot about it. But I got in the anechoic chamber, and normally the sound of your nervous system is like it's a really high-pitched sound. That's why I say it could be tinnitus in a way if it gets too tight. But it's but I got into the anechoic chamber, and my nervous system, instead of going, was going tight like that. Really tight, like chalk over a chalkboard. And I would not have known that had that effect on my body had I not been in the chamber without having an argument and knowing more neutral.
Right.
Right. So in a way, you could say I went into the cave with the wrong set and setting.
Or was it wrong because it was a wonderful discovery?
Exactly. It was a discovery, but I needed to know the difference. Someone hadn't had the baseline. If you go into an experience without that, you won't know the difference. Right. So then you'll say, oh, it's a horrible experience being in that room of darkness. I was able to say, no, I know the difference between a good experience and a bad experience and what happened to my nervous system. And what was even more shocking, I felt my shoulders go up. So I knew both there was a connection between the mind-body to the nervous system and the body, but I felt it. I became very aware of the price I paid for that argument. And I kept thinking, if I hadn't become aware of that, how long would it take for me to release that from my system?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I'd be totally unconscious of it and walking around like this all day, perhaps. And then I begin to realize the price that people pay. without even knowing, because they don't have that inner place to go to know the difference.
Right. And you have, you taught us, I mean, so many times in class that we are tuning forks as human beings, that, right? And
Yes.
that's how the tuning forks came along.
But the tuning forks came along because when I was like this, that's when my intuition kicked in, and I said, wait a minute, I can tune myself, right? I just like, I'm like a string that has just become too tight. I can tune myself. So I was able to get 2 tuning forks, which, oops, if I have them. Like so, and I tapped them and held them to my ears, but it turned out also it's one of those synchronistic events where I had to run downstairs to the music store, which happened to be right down below the psych lab, and I said, I want this tuning fork and that tuning fork, and they had them, right? So, and I knew about this from my studies, graduate studies in music, and so I studied with the Greek composer who did all the intervals, and I knew that C and G, we say in music, which is also called a perfect fifth, we knew the mythology of it. It was the interval of Shiva and Shakti, Isis and Arias. It was the interval of perfect balance of yin and yang. And I said, that's the one I want. I didn't have
that stuff right now.
Yeah. So I got it. I came back up. I tapped on my knees, not together, but on my knees, like this. And I heard the sound, and instantly, like this, my nervous system goes, but more likely, even more amazing, my shoulders must have been here, and they dropped, and I felt the wave come over me. This literally moved through all of me. And that's when I began to realize that, in other words, that happened 55 years ago, and I've done nothing for 55 years but work with that one experience. Because I tell people in all my classes, all you need is C and G, right? Everything else is an add-on. And the history of it, the mythology of it, and then the science of it that I've done is all based on one experience 55 years ago.
Yeah, and talking about this, it comes to me now, the planet is a little bit out of tune, you know, I mean, it's just so much going on with the uptightness and, you know, rebellious and all that. And so I work a lot, John, with maps. I do a lot of work that I put crystals on it or flower essences from Australia. And I wondered if playing the tuning forks in certain countries, just tuning certain parts of the world.
I had a client many years ago who I worked with. It's actually one of my favorite stories. He owned a bar in Tribeca in New York, and he wanted me to come and work on the construction workers that came in the bar after work and stuff. And they would come in and drinking and smoking, and I'd come in and I would do a little body work on their shoulders, because again, the same thing, up and down, this is somatic work, and I tune them. Right, and I would do this every day, and they just give me money. They give me tips and stuff, and then because I had the summer off, I liked him, and then he fired me. He fired me 8 weeks later, and he said, well, "Why are you firing me? These guys are happy. They come. They're bringing more people in." He said, "Yes, there's more people coming in, but they're not drinking and smoking as much."
Well then,
And then
Cleaned them up too well.
And then he was basically, anybody who went to the bar, he was basically, I treated him for alcoholism and stuff. And then one day he was in a panic, and he said, "You've got to come over. I need to have something. And so I had a whole big set of Bach flowers, which are really in brandy, right? So I didn't think about it. I took him over, gave the set. He took the whole set of Bach flowers and he drank it. He drank a whole set of Bach flowers. and then he said he woke up the next day and had a dream. And all he did was take the tuning forks and he made gold and silver acupuncture needles, really big ones. He was quite wealthy, so he made these big needles. And he went around and he would put them in different countries. He doused the ley lines of the world, and he did acupuncture on the planet.
Yeah.
And wherever he went, he would tune the forks with the tuning forks.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing, because we're gonna put the links for people to get the forks from you and your announcements for classes, because he teaches a lot.
Yeah, he's got a class coming up, so we'll put the information down below for that for sure.
We can pass it on to people. He lived in India too, Corey.
I'd like to ask John if this is something that's similar to like your aura, your energy field, things like that. Would you get tuned, and then depending on your circumstances, it very quickly shifts so you're out of tune again?
Yes, I think the most boring thing in the world is to be in tune.
Okay. It's the excitement of not being in tune to get back in tune.
Well, if you have confidence of how to get back,
right,
you can enjoy being out of tune better.
That's so true. I've never looked at it like that.
Yeah, the analogy I give sometimes, if an airplane is flying, you'd be surprised. They say, well, is the airplane always on course?
Yes.
And let it land. It's like if I fly from here to Europe, how much of the time do you think that the airplane's actually on course?
Right.
Really on course, exactly tuned on course.
Yeah, no, it's always probably constantly like moving in and out.
Yeah, that's right. So it turns out it's like 1/10 or 1% of the time it's actually on course. The rest of the time you're out of tune.
So then does it resonate with you that like life is all about the experiences? It's not necessarily about, because I always think at this point in my life, I'm like 53 and I've got to the point where I've gone through a lot of different stuff and I've worked with a lot of different clients. And I kind of think that there's no such thing as nirvana here, which would be in tune. I don't think there is. I think it's all about the ride.
It's about the ride. You got it. And if you're looking to have nirvana forever, good luck.
Yeah.
But personally, Isabel just said I've been in India. Well, I visited lots of gurus, and a lot of them were charlatans, for one. They act like they had nirvana forever, and they didn't, for sure. And a lot of them, basically just, used the concept of enlightenment, in a way that you could be permanently enlightened, and they weren't. So I never met anybody in my life that wasn't in some way or other messed up, right? But that's not what. And my interest was really in if you have the word messed up is scientifically means distress.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you have distress, the question is, how are you relating to it? Now, if you have the pilot and the co-pilot, and the co-pilot says to the pilot, you're 2 degrees off course, and the pilot says, shut up, I don't want to hear that, and he keeps going. You're 5 degrees off course. I don't want to hear that. What's wrong with you telling me?
I think that's like... Sorry,
that's called alarm response, and in psychotherapy we call that you're heading for a major crisis.
Right, and I was a pilot, but not of the big craft, because those they fly themselves. But what you just said before, it was really it got the being off course. So the more out of resonance and out of tune that we are, the more we deviate from our course, from our initial course that we came in here to be in.
Correct. That's correct. The more you fight yourself when you're out of tune and judge yourself, that's the basis of cognitive behavioral therapy and so on. The more you judge yourself, the tighter you get. Right? And the tighter you get, the more out of tune you get. But if you don't have a way back, you don't know any better. So then what happens is you say, I'll go drink. I'll take some oxycodone. I'll take some benzodiazepines. I'll look at TV with I've actually had patients that looked at TV with all the happy people taking drugs and said, could you prescribe that for me? Because I want to be happy. It nothing to do with the drug on TV.
Amazing. Yeah, because the Dr. Biaulieu, he worked in Bellevue. I don't know what that is.
Yes, you explained to me a while ago when you were talking about stuff. You said, is it a place where most psychotic patients, the most psychotic patients are?
Bellevue is it's the oldest public hospital. It's the oldest hospital in America, in New York City. And I worked at what's called Bellevue Psychiatric. At that time, it was one full building of psychiatric patients who we evaluated, who would be there for about 2 weeks max, but we'd evaluate them with the goal of getting them back in the community. And I worked there for a number of years, evaluating people and doing therapy.
So did you have 2 weeks to just make an evaluation, or have 2 weeks to try and change them?
Well, no, we had 2 weeks for the evaluation. And my job originally was, after that 2 weeks, when they went back to the community, to create a transition program. I did most of my work in the community versus in the hospital. Although I had to be in the hospital for the team meetings and so on to know the patients, but I set up a whole system where when they were discharged, instead of coming back to the hospital, they come back to a group with myself or other therapists. So we would monitor them, work with them in order to keep them out of the hospital and give them the skills to live in the community correctly.
Right, but he worked with some serious people. Remember when you took these people basically straitjacket with nothing onto the park, Central Park?
Yeah. I work with literally every psychiatric disorder in terms of the medical model you could think, including I worked at the prison ward. I worked with serial killers. I've worked with, normal paranoid psychotics, schizophrenics. Alcohol. I was head of the rehab at night for the alcoholism and drug abuse. So I saw many, many things that most sound dealers don't see. Right?
Yeah, I was thinking. Could I ask, in that time of work, from like a psychological perspective, in that time of work, did you see any patterns or any like theme that went on with people? Why I ask is because in the 22 years that I've been doing hypnotherapy with clients, I think that the majority of those clients, including myself, the majority of them, it comes down to, no matter whether it's alcoholism or depression or whatever it is that is bringing them to you in the first place, I think it always comes down to like a feeling of lack of self-worth or self-love.
Yeah, yes, it does to some extent. There's a lot of factors, but once you can create a community and you can have people express themselves, their chances of recovering are far greater. And if you have the right support, beyond their diagnostic terms, you forget that.
Right.
What's underneath of that is community, to commune, to be together, to feel supported, as you might say, to feel loved. But I think support and safety is most important, which is something that doesn't exist for the most part in the mental health field today. But that's my goal, was to create groups in the community that did that for people. The actual therapies we did with them were icing on the cake on top of that. Right, but I don't think they ever would have worked without that, without the sense of community, love, support, and safety. Right, so then we had different therapies that we employed. And hypnotherapy is, I know that quite well. By the way, one of my teachers who wrote the book, My Voice Will Go With You. He wrote the book about Milton Erickson. He was my supervising therapist.
Oh, nice.
So I actually I didn't know what he did, for 2 years. And finally someone said he's a student of Milton Erickson. I didn't know who that was either.
Who's
But,
that?
but he gave me sessions for free where he just sit and hypnotize me every week. I just thought it was a vacation. I go, wow, I can just lay here and this is a psychiatrist doing this for me. This is fantastic.
The beauty of Erickson, right? Contrary to any other kind, especially the old-fashioned, hypnotherapy. What I love about him is that he let people resource, right? It's almost like the reflective listening in
That's correct.
therapy.
He just, if you listen to, my favorite is his recording is one we did called Nick and Monday. And when he works with Nick, who's a 22-year-old college student who has insecurities and stuff, he knew nothing about him other than that, nothing. And the words that he used, I call them the good words, and I related them now to fuzzy logic science and so on. But basically, he repeated these words in 45 minutes, hundreds of times, over and over and over again. You can put together new possibilities. You can see new possibilities. Your future can hold new awarenesses that you're not yet aware of, but you know you'll become aware of. He goes on and on and on, and it was one of the most, forget, all the arm levitations, forget all of that. That to me was the essence of good hypnotic repatterning, I might call it. And then I would say you take that and you put it with a community that gives you those messages. You're a good person. You have new possibilities. You can create new ways of doing things. You can constantly hearing that from a safe community, right? And then my other mentor was a doctor called R.D. Laing. And R.D. Laing, we had the same philosophy. It's just put together. He lived with the psychiatric patients in a community, right? And the other psychiatrists hated him, because how could you do that? You're ruining your professional whatever. So you take someone like Laing, you take Erickson, you take these pioneers, and you find out what was the basis of what they're doing, which is people are people. We don't want to deal with diagnoses that much. We want to deal with what they need: safety, community, putting things together, and so on.
Yeah.
Right. And then of course, there's always people that they need a prison ward and things like that. They need, but even there, it's the same thing.
Right.
Like I interviewed people. You would have to have a team of people to talk with them. They're such good manipulators and sociopaths. But even then, it's the same thing. A community that's safe and everybody's safe, and that's the best we can do. And then you would add meditation, sound healing, all these things within the community, and the base is there, and all of that begins to just constantly lift it up.
Yeah, it's because working with children, I've been working with suicide kids and such. The issue for us it was to return them to their home, because then they go back to that environment.
Yeah, they go right back. Yeah.
And that's the issue, because a lot of times, the government doesn't have the capacity to have that many places to hold them, right? Not to return them home, and the legalities and all that. Yeah. So they come right back.
Yes, but all you can do is, when you have them, provide a community, safety, and you become at least a homeopathic remedy in their life. It's better than not having it at all.
Yeah.
Right.
I would
imagine. I've always said that I feel like I'm a homeopathic because I just could do a little bit, but I'm going to do it good. And you've known me for many years. I haven't stopped. I've constantly saying, I'll keep the principle, I'll keep the work going. I will constantly do this and do it to the best of my ability. But I'm only one little dinky little drop in the entire universe. But that's a homeopathic. I'd rather be that than the opposite of that.
Right. Well, the little drops. Agatha Christie wrote a lot about the other side of the drops. One little.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And what would you say? Because I would like for the all the people, the listeners, and she's got a big follow-up on classes because she teaches too yoga and all that. Um, the work with the tuning forks, if you can go into a little more on the biosonics and the relationships, how people can use them for different modalities and for to get themselves out of whatever it is. And
Is it all right? I need to get someone took away my tuning forks.
How dare they?
Yeah, but they're here. I just have to get off camera a second to get them.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's see where they went.
This is when we see you wearing your pajamas on the bottom
No,
of.
I know. I know. That turned out I actually have pants today.
I thought about it, but I actually did put pants. Yeah,
You see me limp a little bit because I just had the hip operation. So
yeah, he likes hip hop.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, and he does all the crystal balls, and he has them forever.
I see them all back there.
Yeah.
Looks
But
like
the
laser.
fact of being able to do sessions for you and do things that, when we work with clients, Corey, that, just playing the tuning forks can do incredible. And it's got the angel tuners, these little ones.
Oh yeah.
Well, I just want to say that I've been doing in my. The other day, someone wondered how many sessions I'd done in my career. I was like, I have no idea. And so I said, well, I began totaling it up. And when I was working, I was seeing 80 people a week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And of those 80 people a week, at least 50, 60%, I was doing what I call their own private sound concerts or tuning fork concerts. A lot of them, I would just have them do it at home, but most of the time I always ended sessions with, as you might say, with good hypnotic suggestions and sound. They go together perfectly. That's what Anton Mesmer, who was really, one of the greatest hypnotists there was, did sound baths with Benjamin Franklin's glass harmonica. So he was the first person to do sound baths in Paris. So it's probably with that many people a week over a period of at least 25, 30 years, I've done a lot of sound baths for people. But for me, it comes down to not laying on the floor for hours, but just a few minutes, and with the right suggestion, with the right good words, you immediately just come into resonance, you come into tune.
Okay.
Right? So, and that tuning would be within the context of the session, which could have been somatic and verbal or whatever. But mostly, the longest I'd work would be a half hour. And I would take people back to back. And in the end, I just said, come in the room, lay on a table. I had 10 tables set up. I just walk around and do the same thing over and over. And then people started sitting around the room in chairs to hear it. Right. So
it's awesome, really, isn't it?
yeah. And when people told personal stories about their life, nobody really heard their own life. Right. So, and whatever I said about it, they heard it in the context of their life and their story. And they'd say, thank you for the counseling. I didn't know what their story was. Right?
Well,
I didn't need to know because I've heard so many stories. It'd just be a variation on the theme anyway. So.
Right, it's less tear and wear and tear on a. You see, Corey.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I had no fear about what story they might tell me because then I could just relax and just let the energy move through.
Yeah.
Right, but the tuning forks. This is a C, this hand, and this is a G, right? And they're special. They're not, every tuning fork's not the same. These I designed 55 years ago, maybe more, so that they would ring what we call harmonics,
Okay.
right? So if you took tuning forks that you buy off from India, they don't do this, right? And steel tuning forks won't do it. So they're very, I like to say they're the Steinway of tuning forks.
Okay.
They're a lot of work went into designing them for what I wanted for sound healing reasons, right? So, and the C and G, I'm going to see if I can tap. We play them two different ways. One is you can tap them on your knee. If I get back far enough, you can maybe see.
Okay.
You tap them like this.
I just got a shiver.
But you hold them in your ears. You can hum with them if you want.
Mm-hmm.
You just listen.
Because the humming, I learned, John, that helps with the vagus nerve.
It helps. Well, it definitely helps with the vagus nerve. It could create a molecule called nitric oxide. The sound does it, and the humming does it together. And when that happens, you're dealing with a vagal relaxation response, right? In fact, it's called in science the relaxation response. It's a nitric oxide anandamide response. And probably the word self-love, if you have that experience of self-love through meeting the distressor and successfully resonating with it, that's called euphoric stress. And when you have euphoric stress, your body releases molecules called anandamide. Ananda, like bliss.
Okay.
So now your whole body is filled with bliss. And therefore, it's impossible at that point not to have pure self-love.
Doesn't exist in there, right?
Yes.
No, it's
but it doesn't last. That's the thing.
yeah, it's like, how long does it last? Does
Yeah.
it last while you're listening?
It doesn't matter. It won't last. It won't.
Like everything.
Yeah, it could be a week, it could be a day, it could be a few minutes, it could be a second. It's going to be gone, guaranteed.
Right, and nitric oxide, it's created here in the sinus cave, right?
Well, that's one of the places. It's created in cells in your body, immune cells, nerve cells, and endothelial cells in your body around heart tissue and blood lining.
Right.
So, and that relaxes your endothelial tissue. Your nervous system comes in tune. I'm sure that's when you hear the sound change, right? And then you could say you're in a coherent state, right? You're coherent,
Yes.
right? And you can sit there like if you were in your cave, you probably came into a coherent state.
Yes.
Right? And then you come out and get a call on your iPhone.
All right.
It's gone.
Many
So
times.
much for that. But you know what? This makes me think that all of that, you and I, we love this beautiful bone. And actually, John made a couch out of the sphenoid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you can, what happens there in the cave of Brahman and the Turkish saddle and all that bit?
Well, that becomes in a way mystical in brain anatomy because we have reservoirs in our brain called ventricles.
Right.
And the ventricles are connected. One sits right in your what we call the third eye. Right behind it is the third ventricle, which is a reservoir of salt water. Right, a cerebral spinal fluid, right? And at the end of this reservoir, it would be your pineal gland, and your gateway out to other possibilities. So when you're in balance, everything here, this the third eye, or you can say the chakras now, to meet a challenge, you need fire, water, air, and earth, and in space. And when they come into balance with what you need to do, right? So the trillion forms of balances. So now you've come into balance, and that resonance literally lifts up to here, right? And it opens the doorway to the pineal gland, at different levels. The pineal gland has different names. It's called by the Indians the Great Dream Lodge.
Yeah.
And in India, they call it the cave of Brahma.
Cave of
So in a
Brahma.
way, you were in the external cave of Brahma in your cave, but
Yeah.
you have one inside of you that's dripping beautiful fluid that's called the dew from heaven consistently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
The
Yeah, and
mind.
even when you do this with the C and G, and you tap, literally this bone is like a butterfly that's flapping. It's got wings and it's flapping its wings, right? And it's dancing. It's dancing all up and down your spine. Uh,
Oh, that's perfect.
yeah, so it's a beautiful. It's called the perfect dance of Shiva and Shakti in
Yeah.
India,
Right.
right?
So you're talking about that duality that comes into a state of resonance, that comes into
Yes.
of harmony when we do those two sounds, right?
Yeah. Yes, because the two, I like to say what's most important isn't the C or the G, it's the space between.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's this, I'm interested in the New Age thing to go, here's the Earth chakra, I don't know. Because Earth can be, in other words, Earth to a butterfly is different than Earth to an elephant.
Right.
Right. So and so the Earth can be all different frequencies. So what's the only thing that we really know is this space, the relationship of the space between. Right. I like to, in one of my classes I talk about the space between.
Yeah.
Right. And this is in all mystical traditions. It's nothing new. It's throughout Rudolf Steiner and eurythmy and all of that. But basically, it's the space between the two tones, but it's mathematically precise. It's a precise space.
Yeah.
Right. So now, if I have a very precise, I literally have in my hands the perfect dance of Shiva and Shakti and the perfect balance of Yin and Yang, and scientifically, something that will manifest nitric oxide and anandamide molecules. Literally, this right here.
Beautiful.
So I could just tap them on an activator or like this, or I like to do Tai Chi with them. You can tap them and you move your body like this.
Yes, I watched you do that in a video
Well,
when you
you
were
want it.
working on someone. What were you actually doing? I was watching you working on a lady. You were standing behind her and you were doing what looked like Tai Chi with them. What were you doing from your perspective?
I'm just moving in the field.
Okay.
I'm just, and I'd want her to go, I'm saying when I'm home by myself, I'd want to tap and just move with the sound, because remember I said in the anechoic chamber, my body was like this.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you get home from work or something like that, your body is probably could like this. Or
Yeah.
probably if you just watch the news on TV,
Yeah.
you're probably like that. So we have to account for the somatics of it also. So we have that's and the ancients did that too. They had sitting meditation and things like Tai Chi and yoga, right? So moving. So we have this, which is a nice, quiet, inward sitting meditation, and we have this, which we're moving our body, getting the movement to the joints, right? Allowing things to open. And I like it after when someone gets back in the morning, you can make different concerts for yourself. Why go to a sound bath? You can make your own all the time. You do it for your friends because it's very personal, the tuning forks,
Yeah.
right? And
He does have CDs though. He
Oh,
does have, and downloadable ones that is lovely to play because I still play mine. I travel around with a little portable CD player.
I have, of course, there's lots of videos on how to use them, how to play with them in different ways, and so on. After 50 years or so of doing this, I have a lot of.
yeah, I would
I
imagine.
got tons of professional papers. I've got research papers. I've got real practical things about how to use them. Most of it is free, to tell you the truth, with all in fact, I was listening to them for people in other countries that can't afford them or third world. I made recordings. I just put them online for free. So they can just sit and listen to the recording and hum with it, right? But there's something about the tuning forks themselves when you hold them in your hand. Because I like to say, this is who we are. We're like like this tuning
Right.
forks, and we're constantly vibrating, right?
Right.
And so now all of a sudden we tap, and for a moment, just for a moment, we have a little bit of resonance and coherence.
Right. And can those be filed, accumulated, and put it in a
Yeah, well,
file?
when you do it every day, you know what resonance and coherence is. So therefore, when you go out of tune, you'll know you're out of tune. And you can at least say, I want to be out of tune a little bit longer, or I want to go back.
Yeah, right.
You have a choice. You have a conscious choice in that case.
Yeah,
Right.
the self-awareness of it.
Yes, you have awareness. Yep.
Yeah, but the mindfulness, if we get out, it never goes right. What would you say if, because a lot of people have asked me, they're probably going to get the tuning forks and your books, which will be to start in the tuning forks and the books? What would you say to them?
Human tuning.
The book,
Yep.
you can tune
The
in.
book is human tuning. And in terms of the tuning forks, all you need is C and G. And I say the Auto 128, just so you can see what that is. It's a C that's a little bit lower. It looks like this with weights. Remember, because I said it's somatic too. And this is one that you could tap like this, and you could press to acupuncture points, reflex points,
Can you
to
explain
connect the
what
tissue.
somatic is, John?
Somatic means, it really means your body's intelligence.
Okay.
And it also refers to what we call connective tissue, which is an organ in your whole body that's only recently, in the last 10 years, been discovered more in medicine. When I took anatomy, they used to take it, scrape it off in a bucket, but now all of a sudden we're seeing it's a semiconductor. In other words, it moves, it's a crystalline nature, it's a crystal, right? And it moves energy through the whole body. We think that's the basis of acupuncture points, it's the basis of reflexology, it's the basis of Rolfing and any connective tissue work. So we're now dealing with it connects everything in your body at different levels. And I like to put a little crystal on the back, and we tap, and we go like this, and we can press points. And of course, I have protocols like for back here for the vagus,
Yeah.
right? And you could do the face, which has to do with the trigeminal nerve and the facial nerve, which are off the vagus, all at the brainstem. You could do lips,
Yeah.
face, so it becomes a way of doing body work with sound.
That's so cool.
But
Back in the day, a long time ago, like 20 something years ago, when I was training to do my transpersonal hypnotherapy work, we did this class where we used to call it the 15 steps, and it was designed so that you could go up to communicate with guides or masters or angels. And when you got there, you always asked for divine healing and divine teaching. And part of the divine healing was always sound.
yes,
Well, the guides, whoever the beings were that would work with you, would say, you need to make this sound, or you need to tune in on the humming sound in the refrigerator, or you need to do the sound,
yeah.
or whatever it was to kind of attune your body. It's so cool how it's
It's,
all
but
connected.
remember, those guides themselves are sounds.
Right, exactly. They're
And
vibration.
how you perceive them is unique to you. I
Exactly.
mean, yeah, you could call them Jesus, you could call them, angels, dakinis, whatever, you could call them the wee little people. The Irish have a great, good stuff for that, for their little people were everywhere. Like when I went to Ireland, they gave me the little people tour. It's like, this little person lives here and that little person lives there.
Cool.
But if you go to each culture, because it's vibrational, you can listen to a piece of music, and how you listen. What makes it music, by the way, is how you listen. Because rock and roll is not music to everybody, and classical isn't. So, but underneath it is this sound, and so now as you go into the sound, you look for a reference point, and something manifests, and you give it a name. But really, I call those divine beings the hive. It's like a beehive.
Right.
And they're making trillions of microtonal sounds, and those microtonal sounds are meant for your good. And when you let them just move through your fascia, through your connective tissue, they reveal themselves. But the way they reveal themselves could be in a very practical thing, in your life, or it could be it's an angel. But maybe it's zucchini. It's but then but they leave a little bit of something behind, that stays with us.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and the C and G, my way, the space in between is that doorway to the divine.
yeah.
Ultimately, it's been known that way for years. It's a gateway. It's like this is one side of the door, this is the other side. But what about the space between that you pass through?
Yeah.
So for a moment you pass through, you become coherent. And if you do it with the right words, I'd like to tell people to say good things before you go through, right? So you say, I open myself to new possibilities today, for example, right? Or I put myself together in a new way to meet this challenge in my life. And you hold it like that, and then you pass through. And what you perceive as you pass through, I don't know, but you will find something will come to you that's going to help you put together your resources to meet what you need to meet.
Yeah. Because we're all individual instruments anyway, aren't we? Right?
That's correct. We don't know. This was the basis of Milton Erickson's work. We have the resources necessary. We just need to put them together in a new and creative way to meet the challenges of our life. That was it. You don't have to look anywhere else but inside, put them together, and we get led. Sometimes we can call it divine guidance. We can call it our own inner intelligence. There's so many names for it, but the bottom line is it's there and it functions. And all the different names, I'm all for all of them as long as it's working for you. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you feel like that because I don't remember half of the names for everything out there. I just kind of go with what feels right. So
Perfect. We call that a feeling tone in psychology, and that's the resonance of it. And I tell people that all the time. We leave intuition out in the West, but it's coming back. But intuition isn't magic. Intuition is one part of a communication mechanism with intellect and feeling and so on. So if you just go to the stock market and say intuitively I should buy a stock, that's crazy. But if you have a little background in economics, you understand the intellectual part of it and the market, like at Harvard and Princeton and Yale, they're teaching intuition to economists now.
yeah.
Right. So, but it's in that context. So if I'm good at psychotherapy and I get an intuition, it's going to be in something I'm good at, not I got a magic insight into what's good for everybody.
Yeah.
So my crystal ball went out the door just now.
No, the crystal means to be crystal clear, and it's a great tool for intuition. I love crystals. We're walking crystals. We're self-tunable crystal beings. I mean, your crystal ball might walk out the door, but you didn't. And by the way, here's your crystal ball right here.
I know, right? Yeah. The caduceus have sound, no?
That's right.
Yeah, the caduceus, and that's the sphenoid up there, those wings.
But your whole cranium's a crystal. It's a crystal ball.
Nice.
Absolutely.
As long as you're in the space in between those those
Yeah.
forks, as long as you're in the space between those forks, Isabel, then you're in the right place with your crystal ball.
Yeah. You just tune into it and it amplifies possibilities.
Yeah.
Now Lily steps in.
There you go.
She's got a lot going on.
Yeah, I got my little one right here, my little elephant.
Oh,
I got one there.
Yeah, you got one there too, right?
Yeah. And a wolf. I always surround myself. I love animals, and I'm up in the mountains right now where there's so much going on.
Well, and animals are vibrational helpers. I mean,
definitely.
definitely. I mean, look at the research on having a cat or dog as a pet. I mean, it's off the chart. Because they love you, and you bond with them, right? You have community, you have safety. It's like,
You have all the basic needs.
you have all the basic needs right there.
Yeah.
So what we're basically saying is, from everything that I've took from you, from all of your years working with all of these patients, human basic needs is a requirement for us to even get into the right resonance to allow ourselves to experience a vibration of self-love.
Absolutely. And if you, I think you could look at, there's a psychologist named Abraham Maslow, and he calls it he makes the pyramids of needs. You know, at the bottom of the pyramid is safety. You know, and you look at that, and then you get to the higher part, right? And that's when self-love, you might say, begins to appear, not in a narcissistic place, but in a much more realistic kind of, earned self-love.
Yeah.
That it's really not, but the self-love isn't for the self, it's for the whole universe, as you say.
Yeah, right. Because I think
That point.
within all of us is to
Yeah.
be of service, right? I
To
think
do
that's
service.
part of
Yeah.
that. That's
Yeah.
why so much of your stuff, like you said, is free, because your intention is to put this out there as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the stuff I put online for the Tuning Forks online, I get the most wonderful emails from children, kids in other countries that are, they listen and they give it to their friends and so on.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, that's my interest more than anything else in the world.
Yeah.
That one little thing can make the world a better place. It's my homeopathic contribution. That's what it comes to.
Yeah.
I am so forever grateful because so many years I spent with you on your classes and presence, and and his wife does music and color and stuff, dancing and such. Thea, yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, my wife is a dance therapist by
Yeah.
trade and a
Oh,
dancer.
perfect. Music
Yeah.
and dance
We have
together.
music and dance, psychology. We have the whole, but they all kind of,
Exactly.
they like hypnosis. They all come together, really.
Yeah.
The tuning forks to me, without meditation and good words, it's just when they piggyback on each other, right? And when they can piggyback, like I tell sound healers, they think they have to do these sessions that go on for hours. I teach people, 5 minutes. I've done 1 minute sessions that are unbelievable that people have, and so it's not, and time is so relative anyway. It's in that one moment, if you could take a homeopathic remedy. My favorite homeopath is a guy in Germany now. He says he potentize it to infinity. Right? I go, oh, whoa.
I'll take some of that.
I said, okay, no problem.
That's so awesome.
I know.
Yeah, I'm so delighted to see you, and I wanted to introduce her because she does a lot of teaching, a lot of classes, and is exposed to a lot of people too with clients. So it's so nice to pass.
Just kind of like you, we find something that hopefully is positive for this world, and we try and make a difference, right?
We stay with it no matter what.
Exactly.
And I tell it with my, I'm approaching 80 now, but I would say that it's not like, there's a book in psychiatry that says, I never promised you a rose garden.
Yes.
And I can say that I spent my whole life in the healing arts, and it's not like bliss all the time, anything like that. That people they don't like you, they criticize you, patients don't get along, something bad, but whatever it is, I've stayed with it all these years.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here now. We've stayed with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can think of a lot of people that get involved and just leave, but it's been my profession, it's been my calling. And it's been greater than, for me, far greater than making money or anything like that. That's if that were the case, I would have best gone back to school and become an economist, stockbroker in Wall Street. And I always joke with people, like, if I win the lottery, I have my classes, the same classes on my yacht. It won't make any difference.
I know you're still doing it.
It won't make any difference. Whatever
Right.
resources I have, they go for this, period.
You just might wear
Yep.
fancier shoes.
It is right. I'll give you all a free flight on my jet to my yacht.
That's right.
To hear me talk about what I just talked with you about now.
Oh, right. Oh, no, it was so lovely to meet you.
Yeah, we could.
We've come to our end of our time.
Oh,
So
okay.
it
Good.
was lovely to meet you. Really appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with us. It was lovely.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate being with both of you, that's for sure.
I hope you're. Oh, before we leave, one last final question. Do you use the tuning forks on your body like to help you heal your hip?
Yeah.
Yes, but again, this is where medicine and this come together. I use the tuning forks, but I use it in concert with good surgery, good recovery with PT,
Yes.
and I also use it in concert with Tai Chi and running Chi through when I
Yes.
stand on my hip. I mean, I'm only 5 weeks out of surgery.
That's awesome.
And even though I'm limping a little bit, I don't have a cane. I'm still moving around.
Yeah.
And I apply my relationship to pain. I don't take any painkillers at this point. I took my therapist said my doctor said you could take oxycodone to play golf, and and I said, oh really? I said, and he said, yeah, if you want. He said, do you have any? I said, yeah, I got a whole bottle full. He said, well, why? Why you get that bottle full? I said, well, from all the oxycodone you prescribed that I didn't take.
I do too. They give me all that. I have a bag of it.
No.
I know. I don't take it.
Yeah, no, I'd rather have I'll have a Tylenol.
Tyler, exactly. It's a matter of, when you have the right relationship, your body makes its own painkillers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, after surgery, I'm glad I had oxycodone once.
Right. Yeah. He has done root canals and everything with nothing.
I have done, yes.
Yeah.
You crazy person.
Crazy. That's right. You got it.
That's right.
But we love you. You're part of the group.
Yeah, we're part of the pack now.
Yes, we are. We're in the pack. All right.
Love you, John.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy California there.
Bye, John.
Bye-bye.
Love you.